Good morning, guys. I thought we could start today with a quick review of the mole concept. I gave you guys 3 examples on the board yesterday and asked you guys to try a couple examples on your own. But I'm not sure I have a sense that people are actually fully able to do this independently. So this video is kind of a quick review. If you 100% got this, you're welcome to work on this handout, the mole concept worksheet, while I'm talking. But I'd really encourage you to kind of follow along. We'll do a few examples as a team. So we had said that there's some ideas you need to remember here. Remember the symbol N represents the number of moles of something. Moles is an amount. So much like saying a dozen is 12, moles is like 602 hexillion of something, like we heard Tyler DeWitt say over and over. Okay, the unit of measurement is a mole. Okay, there's a symbol capital M, which is a molar mass. And that's basically, you look at your periodic table, you look at the atomic mass of something, and if you have a compound, you would just add the atomic masses of the elements that make up that entity. Okay, and we measure that in the number of grams for every mole of something. So the molar mass is the amount in mass of the number of moles that there is. Okay, and then there's mass, which is generally measured in grams. Just realize, though, that could actually be kilograms. Normally, that's the only 2 units probably you're going to see in this course, but generally the base value is grams. Okay, and the symbol is a lowercase m for the mass. The formula, which is again on your data book, you don't have to have that memorized. It's the number of moles of something is equal to the mass divided by the molar mass. Okay, and I had also told you guys to write down on your data booklets the 3 variations of that formula. Some of you guys are good at manipulating formulas, some of you are not. So if you have yet to do that, then during this video you should probably do that and make sure that you have that information. It's one less thing you got to worry about memorizing as you go through and work towards some of your assessments. Okay, so we're going to start, guys, on your handout for the mole concept worksheet, which you were given yesterday. Again, I had done some examples. I'm just going to do some more with us. So the first example I'm going to do is to look at figuring out a molar mass. Okay, sometimes you'll get the compound name given to you. Sometimes you'll get the compound formula given to you. In this case, you're given both. But ultimately, you have to always start by writing out the compound's formula, because from that you can figure out how many atoms of each element there are and then ultimately determine the molar mass. So let's work through that process together really quickly. So first step, once you've written out the compound, is to say, okay, what are the elements that make up the compound? There's 3 of them. Okay, and then you identify how many atoms of each element there are. So for potassium, there's 2. For sulfur, there's 2. And for oxygen, there's 3. And then you multiply those values by their atomic mass. Now, if you're wondering, what's that again? Well, you look at your periodic table, okay, and so there's potassium. The atomic mass is the number in the top corner, 39.10 for potassium, 39.10. And don't forget to show units, guys. Units matter. We're going to be really focused on units as we move forward here. Sulfur is a non-metal, so here it is right there, 32.07. And multiply that. Oxygen is 16. That's one that we probably will memorize just because we use it so often. Okay, guys, don't forget bed mass. So we're going to show some brackets here to make sure that when we put this stuff into our calculator, we figure out what's in the brackets first, and ultimately we're going to just add up those atomic masses and we're going to get an answer. And hopefully you agree with me that the answer was 190.34, and that was grams per mole. If you don't agree with me, let me know. We can talk about it on Thursday. All right, so there's just an example of finding the molar mass. Pretty straightforward, but this step, I mean, we have to find the molar mass in so many of these questions. This is a foundational piece to doing it. So let's move forward here. Let's determine the amount in moles of the compound present. Well, here isn't actually a compound, it's just an element. But some of those examples in number 2 are talking about compounds, and I'll show you one of those in a moment. So step 1, whenever you're doing this kind of question, write down what you know and what you don't know. Well, in the question itself is asking me to solve for moles. I know that the symbol for moles is N, and I don't know the number of moles. Okay, the mass is equal to 28 grams, it tells me in the question. And the molar mass I don't know off the top of my head, but iron, we're talking about iron, just plain old iron, I can find that out. So what do? You're right. Look at the periodic table and you find iron, and iron's right there. And so look, there's the atomic mass, 55.85. Okay, so I write that down. Step 1 is done. And again, the molar mass is simple for this one because we're just dealing with the element. We're not actually dealing with a compound. So there's no addition of anything required for that molar mass. All right, step 2, we need to look at our formula. Okay, now step 2, I showed you guys a method. I said you guys could write this down on your data booklet, so I'd really encourage you to. But I showed you a triangle method as well. So if you have a 3-variable formula, you can take the value you don't know, which is moles in this case, and you can use a little square to cover it, which is fully transparent. Can we change that? No. So that's kind of annoying. Sorry, guys. This was meant to cover this. I'm not stopping the video and redoing all this, though. So just realize, pretend this is covered. And so if I look, well, N is covered. I've got mass on top of molar mass. All right. And so if it's on top, you can probably imagine that that means divide. So my formula here is going to be the number of moles is equal to the mass over the molar mass. And I've made that M extra big so that we know that we're dealing with molar mass. Okay, we've already determined all these values up here. So really now for step 3, we just substitute 28 grams. We're going to divide that by 55.85. I realize typing with the mouse is painful. I'm sorry, guys. And 28 grams divided by 55.85. And if you do the math, I got 0.5, and I'm just going to throw a 0 there. And if I look, my grams are going to cancel. I'm left with moles. Okay, well, was I trying to solve for moles? What's the amount in moles? Well, hey, maybe I've done this actually right. Now, I've had some people ask me a really good question, and that question was, how do I know how many decimals to use? For now, guys, just use a couple. As long as you have kind of the right answer, that's fine. But as we move into physics, we're going to talk about significant digits, and we'll figure out a method to actually do that properly. So, guys, this was step 3, the substitute. Step 4, I'm not going to do because you guys might mutiny, and that's where I write a sentence, and I don't want to do that with a mouse. All right, so that's the second example, and the answer was 0.5 moles. Let's do one that's a smidgen harder. In this case, it's asking the exact same thing. Determine the amount in moles of the compound present. So again, step 1, what do I know? What don't I know? Well, I don't know the number of moles. I do know the mass value, which is 26 grams. I'm not putting the 0 there, it's fine. And I need to know 2 of the 3 variables to solve. So do I know the molar mass? Well, I'm given a compound here, okay? And so I can take that compound, I can write its formula, and then I can determine the molar mass, just like we did in the first problem of this video. So if I look at this, I've got iron. Okay, you always, if you're given the name, convert it to a formula. Okay, I've got a 3 positive charge. That's what the Roman numeral is telling me. I've got chlorine, which is a negative charge. Okay, so I got to make sure that I balance my charge. I got 3 positive, I got 1 negative, so I need 3 chlorine. Okay, I'm now ready to start figuring out my molar mass. So here I've got Fe, and I've got 1 of them. And I've got chlorine, and I've got 3 of them. Looking at your data booklets, you guys will see the atomic mass for iron again is 55.85. Some of you might have chlorine memorized at this point. And I believe it's 35.45. Okay. I'm going to be kicked off my little screencast here, so we've got to wrap this up. Okay, put that in brackets, add it up, and you guys should get 162.2. Okay, and we'll finish this in the next video.